This is a Let's Talk Church Safety and Security microsode with your host, Paul Buckner. Hey, sheepdogs, I want to talk about being careful that we don't create our own pitfalls in church safety. So this gentleman wasn't in church safety, thankfully, but I had a conversation with a gentleman this week, and it just keeps rattling around, echoing in my head. And so he showed me an archaic firearm that he carries, that he's customized significantly, and then has custom grips, and was telling me how he can make custom grips for anything, which is cool. But the custom grips are, let's just say that maybe they're insulting in nature. We'll word it like that. And then he proudly shows me that with the archaic caliber, that is a dying caliber, firmly dying caliber that he carries in an archaic gun, which means limited magazine capacity. The rounds are hard to find, so he's hand loading the rounds for this in a weapon that he's going to carry for self-defense purposes. And I hadn't even thought about this until just now. The weapon means a lot to him. It's got sentimental value. Don't carry a firearm every day that you have this huge sentimental attachment to, because you could end up in a defensive shooting situation. And in my mind, you could hesitate before you pull the trigger. I mean, I had a guy tell me he was carrying a World War I officer's pistol as his everyday carry, and I think he told me it was worth like $1,100 or something. How about no? And it's just not a good idea. That thing could be in an evidence room for 6 months or more, and if you got a good carry insurance company, you're probably going to get it back in a justified shoot. But that's a long time to wait to get a firearm back. Depending on what I'm doing, I carry a Glock or a SIG. Some of you may be surprised with that, but in many applications, I'm carrying a Glock. I'm very much a Glock guy. I have cheated on my Glocks a little bit in the last about year and a half with one SIG, just due to what it can do for me in that application, in that carry application. So that said, he's carrying an archaic weapon with archaic ammo, with a limited magazine capacity. And then when I said, I would be careful with something like that, because if you find yourself in a situation where you've used it defensively, and you're custom loading the ammo, a defense attorney might try to paint you as bloodthirsty, as someone who really wanted to kill somebody. And he looked at me, and I said, I'm assuming those are probably hot loads. And he's like, and he looks away, and I said, so I won't carry anything that's not a factory load. I said, I don't want to give, pardon the pun, ammunition to a defense attorney in a situation like that. They're already paid and taught tricks to pull every dirty trick that they possibly can to make you look like a villain, whether you're law enforcement or church safety, or you're just out for a walk with your family. They want to try to paint you in any bad light that they possibly can. Why would we give them more ammunition? That just seems extremely unwise. And so he was explaining this to me and showing me this firearm and all these different things like this, and that's just all I could think of in that moment. Is maybe let's carry something that is a modern firearm with a modern magazine capacity, with proven rounds in them, like a Federal HST or a Gold Dot, like Spirit Gold Dot, or there's a half dozen of the rounds I could add to that. Let's not add gimmick rounds to it that are known to not stop, like cough cough RIP rounds. Let's not add gimmick rounds to it, and let's not put custom loaded hot loads in there. And we have to remember that the lawyer that's coming after you is going to have access to all the information about your firearm. And so if they do their due diligence, there's a chance they're going to be checking the trigger. They're going to have it in front of a gunsmith. They're going to have your other rounds. The weapon's going to be taken, is the odds are. And so I want them to pull Federal HST out of my magazine, or whatever it is that I have in that particular weapon. I mean, I've ordered them online just to find them before. I'm going to carry what I would carry on duty. I'm going to carry what the local police department carries. I think that's pretty sound advice. There's great guys out there like Masad Ayub that have just such a wealth of knowledge. Go watch everything that he's ever made. And I had the privilege of interviewing him a few years ago. Wealth of knowledge. And that guy's been pertinent and a viable part helping to shape the firearms community most of the time I've been alive. Impressive. And so I would actually argue I think he's been doing this longer than I've been alive. But anyway, let's not give the bad guys, let's not give somebody that's trying to sue us and take us for everything that we have, let's not give them extra ammo to help sink us, because that kind of thing can make a truly justified shoot, and that's the only kind we want, right? We don't want any shoot, right? Let's call it what it is. But if we are forced to shoot, if we have no alternative but to shoot, and we're back into that corner, and we do shoot and it's justified, we don't want anything to hem us up. And I had another conversation recently with a guy. He goes, I just have this philosophy: if somebody makes me draw my gun, I'm emptying the magazine into them. And I don't have a good poker face, and I must have had this facial tick when he said that. He's like, well, I mean, within reason. I'm gonna try to put the threat down. That's why I'm drawing my firearm. But I'm gonna shoot until the threat stops being a threat. So did the threat drop the gun and is he standing there? I'm gonna stop shooting. Did the threat fall down and is he still holding the gun? I'm gonna keep shooting him. Did the threat, is it a lights out shot and the guy ragdolls? I'm gonna come up and either reposition and cover him, or come up and move his weapon away from him and cover him, depending on off duty, on duty, in the context of that. But why would, to me, he's training to fail. Because if he's talking about that, and that's actually in his mind, he's going to empty his entire magazine, which could be 15, 17, 21 rounds, right? Could be 6, could be 10. But I mean, if you're training just absolutely empty your gun in a situation like that, it just is probably going to come off as bloodthirsty, and you're going to have to defend that. And that's the thing is, why would we ever want to put ourselves in a position where we're going to have to defend that in court? And love him or hate him, if you're sitting there watching the trial proceedings for Kyle Rittenhouse, the guy's crying because he was in a situation where he defended himself, and I support his right to defend himself. I'm not going to poo-poo on him at all. But in that moment, when he was sitting there, I hurt for him. When he was sitting there trying to articulate why he fired, and I think he did an admirable job with that. I think we can train for things or mentally prep ourselves for things that are just a bad idea. So anyway, I hope that makes some sense. It's just one of those things. I've had some of those conversations. Sometimes they're just sticky and icky and gooey and ooey, and they get on you and they stay with you. So anyway, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you. Remember practical. I think that's very pertinent to this conversation. Remember practical over tactical. It's got to be training before toys and nonsense and myths. God bless. If you enjoyed this microsode, check out the video and audio versions of the Let's Talk Church Safety and Security podcast.